something that I've really became a fan of is your work over there in GCW, and it's just that GCW has that. I guess you could call it like a cult following, where it's just that not hardcore isn't like the actual like wrestling style, but the hardcore dedication of these fans that come from all over to see you guys there. Um, how for those fans that haven't seen it, how can you explain it to us?
I think for me, GCW is like the brainchild of actual just wrestling fans. I think with a lot of wrestling companies, they're providing wrestling for wrestling fans, but they're also thinking about it in the terms of like how our quarter hour is going to look and how our sponsors are going to react to certain spots and how we're presenting certain stuff. And in this world, like with the Fight TV Triller deal, allowing us to be online and live on most of these shows, and with us traveling as much as we do, just because like Brett, who runs GCW, he is all about check marking the different things that a promotion should be doing, and he wants to hit every state, and he wants to go back time and time again. And so in all of these places, whether I've been there or not, people already know about us from the internet, and people can find us on the internet. But I look across the cards, and it's really easy to highlight, oh well, this is like a deathmatch tournament they did, so there was all these deathmatch spots. But if you really look at a GCW card, like there's so much of every type of wrestling, from having the Joshi girls coming in. I mean, long runs with Maki Ito, with Miyu Yamashita, working with some of the Stardom and TJPW people in Vegas. There's this crazy craft of wrestling that's like not just the death match or not just the hardcore. And, they kind of started as that sort of company back in the day and really tried to innovate, the craziest hardcore stuff you were seeing on CZW and take it to the next level. But now you've got like really great luchador stuff, really great matches you can only see there, really weird matches you can only see there. And like people talk about the Forbidden Door all the time, but with GCW, it's sort of like this alternate Forbidden Door. I mean, like it makes no sense in the world that I can convince Zack Sabre Jr., the former New Japan Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion, to take an 11 a.m. Saturday morning booking and take a flight that night to go back to Japan to make the New Japan show Monday. But with GCW, it's like there's sort of this spirit of wrestling and the spirit of love of wrestling. And like, I promise you will have a good time. This will not feel like a day of work when you're coming to do matches for us, when you're coming to do these shows. There is sort of the reputation amongst the workers and amongst the boys that like, this is a place where you can come get the wrestling you want to do out of your system. This is a place where like, you don't have an agent backstage, for better or for worse, who tells you if this spot is good or not good. But you also have a lot of people backstage who are, have been in the business a long time, who are helping each other out. And there is sort of the idea that like, we want the entire show to be good. If your match is bad and my match is good, we have failed. That's sort of the mindset. And so with all these different styles and all these different things, I think just like the possibility of what wrestling is, the GCW fans are getting to see like the most extreme versions of that, be it blood or be it, comedic stuff.
I was at the I guess it was a year, not this past year, it was a year before, WrestleCade, the Friday night. GCW did the show there, and so I was first time I've ever. I mean, I've had obviously we have tons of friends and stuff in the industry that go to GCW, but first time I've ever seen the show, and I just watched and was amazed by how I mean, you're talking about diehard fans. I mean, it reminded me of the ECW in that bingo hall type of fans, and nothing wrong with this. Is great.
No,
I'm glad we
no.
have that, but it was like seeing that and the vibe you all must get, because I mean we get the high being in the ring, and what we get, that energy we feel from them and on any other bigger shows or things like that, or even some other indie shows. But just I can only imagine the adrenaline and everything you get being in that ring. And I know I've talked to some of your refs, Max Recon and Adam Galt's guys. That shout out to those guys. Dan
Yeah, the ref
Perch,
team at GCW is incredible.
yeah.
I got to be honest.
I got to throw Dan Perch out there too. He's awesome. But
Well,
and
they
it
don't
was
have a they don't have a Hebner Effy.
I listen. We gotta have some more babies. Bring them on. We'll train them. Train them young.
But I've talked to them, and they talk about how how amazing it is to work these shows or whatnot, and I can only imagine. But like, what does it feel to be a part of, like, say that new wave of, again, the ECW feel, where you hear all the Tommy Dreamers and them talk about it? Well, tell us what it feels like to be a part of that, a group.
I think
right now.
it's very cool right now because we're constantly seeing things that we're doing at GCW sort of make it to the next level and make it to the other places. And a lot of people would be like, oh well, are they copying your spots? Are they doing this? Everybody's copying, everyone's copying everyone, copying everyone. And that's what wrestling's all about is how can we get this art out to other people? How can we show these people how it's done? I remember Crowbar from WCW coming into doing a GCW show, and he showed us a secret with the tubes that he was using that like was the most ingenious thing I've ever seen. And you're going, this is something that we can use in the future to make this safer. And we're getting this information from Crowbar from WCW. Like, this is very cool that we had this sort of weird group collage of wrestling that's happening that is obsessed with the old wrestling, that is completely about defining what the new wrestling is, but is also like, look, if you see what we're doing and you think it's cool, you should do it too, because it is cool. That's why we did it. And I just like, there is this sort of energy and encouragement of like, why isn't tonight the best show we've ever had? Why wouldn't it be the best show we've ever had? And then getting to come into, I remember coming into Germany, and we did a UK and Germany tour back to back. And I'd been in the UK for a few days. I got into Germany. We're doing these shows. They're late night shows because they've got the WXW tournament going on as well. I think the Tag League tournament. And so we're doing the late night slot. And when you walk out there, it's like you've been all day in a country, you don't speak the language, you've been out of the country for, a week, you're feeling a little crazy. And then people in Germany already knew who I was. And that energy coming back of like, yo, people are able to see us all around the world, and especially are tuning in live in Germany to see us when it's 3 a.m. over there and the shows are starting at 8 over here. It's this insane like energy that you want to keep being a part of. And I think within GCW, your Joey Janela's, your Alley Cats, your Mance Warners, your Ricky Shane Pages when they were there, your Nick Gages, everyone seems to have an input that is valued. And if you have an idea and it works and you can plot it through, like, welcome, please come give us the idea and let's use the idea. But there isn't someone backstage going, this is exactly how everything should be, this is how it should be. There's a lot of collaborative effort, and I think that's what makes the product so much more exciting too. Is I don't feel like I'm going out there and just like following a script I'm given. I feel like we came up with the idea of where this is going together. We decided where this is going to go, and if there's mistakes or if there's an idea that doesn't work, well, then we're going to work again. But it's not, you're not going to have your mistakes held against you. We're in this environment of kind of like brainstorming constantly and then immediately being able to do the action. And I've been blessed, especially during COVID. Brett is someone who is very hard-headed about getting the shows out there. And he said, what do we have to do to do them safely? What do we have to do to make this happen? And this year we're coming back to the Indianapolis Park, where we had one of the first shows in June, I think, of 2000, when we were just on the comeback. It was a separated zone show with masks, with hand sanitizer, with everything. And just to have someone with that sort of drive to want to push to the next level always. How do we do a big gay brunch here? How do we do a spring break here? How do we do another big GCW show here? And even like you said, the bingo hall effect, it's crazy to me. The first time we did Hammerstein, the next GCW show I had was in the Loco Arena in Houston, Texas. And that building used to be like a mechanics junkyard building. And so to see us go from this high class, highbrow, like giant theater with wrestling history to like our next show is in this, weird mechanics building with it being indie wrestling. There's this crazy, like, you never know what the background's going to be. You don't know what the venue's going to be, but you're going to go out there and put on the best show possible. Because like, I don't know if you guys ever played Def Jam Vendetta. It was a wrestling game that was themed around rappers, but they had the coolest backdrops on all of their wrestling rings. They'd be in a junkyard, or they'd be like in the streets of New York, or they'd be in a nightclub. And GCW has those constant different backgrounds of these very different venues we're using. And so the shows never look the same,
that was
unless
just
we're returning somewhere.
That was just when you were tripping.
I'm making it up. I made it all up. It's all been a dream, my man.